Now, think about America. Think about
This is amazing.
what you're witnessing here. You're witnessing, this, New York is a tough place to do business. They've got several restaurants in New York, in LA. The two Bosnian brothers flew in to be here with us and to meet Ileana personally.
Thank you, guys.
Why? Because
Thank you
today,
so much.
we're not only going to speak about the problems for Albanians in Macedonia and Kosovo and Preševa, we're going to introduce the issue of Bosnia, which we always knew was a problem.
Yes.
But people don't hear about it because they have no one to speak for them. So you're going to hear from me and Shirley tonight
I'd
why
love
we
to.
cannot abandon these poor
Very
people
important.
in Bosnia that lost on one Sunday 7,000 young men and their fathers in a barn in Srebrenica. The Serbs just mowed it down. One day.
One day. What day was that? What
That
day?
was in 1995. I forget the day, but they
1995?
celebrated.
Srebrenica was
Yeah.
the main problem in
So
1995.
now what I want.
By the way, are we starting? 'Cause
Well,
we
it's
are.
wait,
If
Shirley,
we want to start,
I want
then
Justin
I want
now to
Justin
introduce himself
yeah.
and talk about
Absolutely.
what you did here. The theme of this wonderful restaurant. He took
Right.
us to dinner here before. Not that we
And-
were going to
and
prove it,
please-
but
please
as soon as I
recommend
saw it, I
your
said, you know
remarks
what?
that you
This
were-
is different.
Yeah.
So Justin,
For
say
sure,
hello.
for
Thank
sure.
you, Justin. Thank you very
It is
much.
truly an honor to have you in the house, Joe and Shirley. Getting to know you both has been truly an honor and a pleasure. We could not thank you enough for all of the hard work that you've done on our
Thank
behalf
you.
and the loved ones that we all share. You are standing in a house that we consider our home, so we are honored to have you. As mentioned, my name is Justin Shapiro. I was raised in Chicago, bar mitzvahed in Israel. I have had the distinct pleasure of calling these two fine gentlemen both my brothers and business partners for well over 15 years now. And I think the one thing that we can all share in common is the witness of the hardships and oppression that a lot of our brothers and sisters have endured all over. And what we hope is that through the amazing people that we have gathered here, Congresswoman Joe, Shirley, that we can provide the globe a unified voice that can truly provide safety and prosperity for all of those who have been held under oppressive dictatorships or regimes for far, far too long. And this is truly why we are so honored to have you all under one roof, why we are so honored to dedicate not only our time, our love, and our space to such a worthy cause. And having met Joe and Shirley, having heard about the groundbreaking leadership and work that they have done, truly just empowers us all to continue to fight and continue to work.
Thank you so much.
We thank you all.
Beautiful. Very good.
Just take them briefly to through your experience. I guess it was in the early 90s. How old were you at that point? You were not even 10.
Yeah, so I was 8. My brother would have been 10. Is when the war started. It was around 1991. I believe Sarajevo is one of the cities. We're from the capital. I believe the longest length of the occupation. We stayed there. Fortunately, we were fortunate. Our dad. It was fortunate, unfortunate. Our dad had developed a tumor, and he didn't want to leave, knowing that only United States is the safe place. So we waited literally till, it's a little before the Daytona Accord. 1995 is when we left. So we were welcomed by a sponsorship in Chicago. Our dad has a surgery and everything was well off, and that's how we started here. What was groundbreaking for us is coming, we were pretty well off then obviously in a war you lose it all, and then we literally came here with nothing. So, but we couldn't think of a better country and a better place. And I would wish this for all our friends and family from overseas.
This is not a parliamentary system. Albanians are so confused. Why don't you believe in the State Department? Why are you attacking the State Department? I said, you don't know how America works. This is not a parliamentary system like England or like all these phony groups they have in Europe that, oh, one party controls everything. No, this is a democratic republic. You know what that means? We have 50 states that are all sovereign like the United States, except where the federal government takes the power because of the constitutional rights. But now, listen to the debates for presidency. Too much power has gone to the federal government, and we got to put much more back to the states. So we are a form of democracy that is still evolving by practice. But what I want to tell you is the reason why she has power, Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, for us, is not that she's in the State Department. If she was in the State Department, we would lose already. We wouldn't have her here. Because the State Department, when I got to Congress, was pro-Slav and Serb, and now it's back to being pro-Slav and Serb because they want to take the easy way out. It's called status quo. We don't want those troublemaking Albanians now to get us into another war. Why don't they just settle? Why don't they, settle for what? We have all corrupt leaders that the State Department is saying these are good people. They're corrupt in Kosovo, in Macedonia, in Preševa, in Serbia. I mean, in Greece, you have the religion and the state together, and they're all saying, if you're not Orthodox, don't even come to tell us. If you're Orthodox, that means you're Greek. No, but we're Albanian, we're Orthodox. No, you're not Greek. Tell us that we're Albanian and we're Muslim or something. No. If you're Orthodox, we treat you as Greek. So we have this monolithic approach to things in the Balkans where religion is tending to define what the politics is, which is not American. And we here have separation of church and state. Do you know how many things how many times Shirley and I gave speeches to fundamentalist Christian groups in Washington that says, Shirley, how are you supporting these Albanian Muslims? Don't you see the Orthodox Christians in Serbia, the Orthodox Christians in Greece? You might as well say the Orthodox Christians in Russia, too. They are, the people that are thinking about us and religion. I said, no, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. They're thinking about the state. They have melded religion and politics. This is not American, but you don't know it. So we had to educate over 20 years a lot of people before we got independence for Kosovo. And all right, now, let me tell you about Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. What she doesn't know, I'm going to out her tonight. What she doesn't know, but she's already outed herself by saying that she's Jewish. She was a product from the Spanish Inquisition. They escaped Spain, her family, to Cuba, I guess, back then, and who knows,
My mom was first generation Cuban, yeah. From Spain, Turkey, and then Cuba.
So how do you like that? Right, so you could see the suffering, go back and think about the suffering in that family to get Ileana where she is today. Now, how did we get here today? Now, think about where she comes from. She comes from Miami, Florida. She has been the voice of the Cuban people that have been suppressed for many years by Castro, right? And that is a very legitimate, position to have when you have lived through the suffering. All right? People today say, well, now look how nice Cuba is. We can go there, but yeah, all right, but it's still, like Russia, a system that is controlled by a process or by a political philosophy that is not American. And now we want to see the Cuban people develop and be free and economically develop, but they got to understand that we cannot just, give away the farm over here to a country that still is under a dictatorship. Now, let me tell you why Miami is important to Albanians. When I became a congressman, I don't think you were in Congress, 85.
I came in September 89.
89. But I was already very actively involved in her community with Italian Americans. Before I was discovered being Albanian, because my father spoke Albanian, and Albanians discovered him by accident in 1985 at one of my fundraisers, I was known in America as one of the most active Italian Americans all over. And I traveled, gave speeches, and in Miami, guess who I met? Dante Fascell.
Dante Fascell.
The chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee when the House and the Senate was controlled by Democrats, not Republicans. Think about this. I'm a congressman. I'm a junior member of the minority party in Congress, and I would have no power except I have to find important Democrats and Republicans who like me because I won when I was not supposed to win. And I put together this magic coalition. So when I went to Dante Fascell, who was then chairman, he was then, after he was chairman of the Government Operations Committee.
Right, so he was there. And then when I came, he was chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Right. So here I am now with Dante Fascell, and I walk into his office one day, and I said, Dante, I've been discovered as not only being Italian-American. I know you know me because I came down to Miami many times, the Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame, Boys Town and Girls Town. You had me speak. You introduced me to Rick Riccadelli. I don't know if you remember Rick.
That's right, Rick Riccadelli.
The first Italian who became a mayor of a city in Florida became a very good friend of mine in the 60s and 70s, Rick Riccadelli, from Pittsburgh originally. And he was, I think, the finance chairman for Dante Fascell. That's how I met him. Okay. So I want to show the Albanians. It didn't happen by accident that we found her, because I told her this story. Now, think about this. She comes from Miami. Dante Fascell is from Miami. He wasn't in your district at that time, was he?
No, but right together, right next door.
Right next door, right. Look at this to show you why we're in trouble today with the State Department. So now I am like, you know the old expression, fools rush in where angels fear to tread?
Yes.
Sometimes it's good to be naive and uneducated about certain things because then you might fear to take a move. So here I am now saying, I met these nice Albanian people. They got this place called Kosovo that I never heard of. No one in Congress ever heard of. Not even Bob Dole heard of it. One congressman heard of it, was Congressman Tom Lantos, because he's born in Hungary.
Yes.
And he says, Joe,
He understood.
he called it the Kosovo. The Kosovo. We have to do this. You're right. Nobody knows about it. He says, you are an executive committee member with me. You're fighting the issue of Soviet Jewry. You're helping me on Tibet. You broke away from President Reagan, and you're for the sanctions on apartheid. Albanians weren't, the Republicans weren't doing it in those days. I was a different kind of Republican.
You and Tom Lantos,
All right.
a good team.
So then I said, let me go see the chairman because I need a hearing. How do you get anything done without a hearing, right? So now we have a hearing. Now I go to Tom, and he says to Tom, I go to Dante Fasel. I says, Dante, you're the chairman. Lantos is not the chairman of that committee. And I explained the whole thing. He says, Joe, you know what? This is new to me. Let me now go to the State Department and explain what you told me. His staff was there. They were taking notes left and right. So then a week later, I get called back. He says, Joe, you don't know the trouble you're getting me in. They're calling you a troublemaker, and they're telling me that we cannot listen to DioGuardi or this because Yugoslavia is our best friend.
The State Department.
The State Department. They're the broker. They're Tito. He's mentioning Tito. Tito's already dead, but they're mentioning Tito. The nostalgia. Don't forget what they did. The Warsaw Pact. Yeah. This was the broker. And then what I'm being educated on by Albanians is they took money from Russia, Tito, and from the United States. Yeah. That's how Serbia got the biggest army in Europe to fight the Albanian people. So then I said, Dante, you know what I did for Italian Americans. And they didn't need me. Italian Americans don't need Congress. All they need to do is save money to take a nice trip and enjoy themselves in Italy. Albanians are being killed. Yes. This guy Milosevic is 87, came there and he's killing the people in their homes. Now, I'm a Catholic, and if I had a kneeler, I would be kneeling before you, begging you for another hearing like I did Dante Fasel.
These guys are amazing.
She's attended all of our events, and when she didn't attend, she sent it on the video, and we played it. So people knew that she was one of our best friends, okay? So now we have to tell you.
Joe is amazing, but only to be upstaged by his much better half.
Take it away. As, Joe pointed out, Ileana, you've been
Shirley,
working for
such a
20
delight.
years.
Thank you.
No, really, for those of you in the room who don't know Ileana, and there are a few, but the rest of you do know, she's been working on, the Balkan conflict for, from the time Slobodan Milosevic, attacked until after the war, trying to bring, some stability to the region, which we don't have, obviously. So, Joe ended his remarks with saying we need a hearing, and we do need a hearing because we need your help. Some of you don't know, others do know, especially from our board. You're the chairman emeritus of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. Because you are a senior member, because you had the position as chair, you're in a position, unlike everyone in the committee can't do it. You can go to Ed Royce, who we have talked to, and he said he's definitely interested. But Ed Royce is the current chair from Republican.
A very good chair.
Right, he's excellent and very brilliant from California, and then of course Dana Rohrabacher, Congressman, who's now head from California, who's head of the subcommittee on Europe, Eurasian emerging threats,
and he's
when we had the briefing on Macedonia 2 years ago in the House.
Because of Ileana.
Who ran it? Ileana with Ed Royce and Dana Rohrabacher. So now we need it more than ever, and the reason we need to need it, and I'm sure you're aware of this, the Obama administration for 8 years has made Balkans, the just unimportant in the foreign policy, arena of the U.S. They have taken a total backseat to Europe, and from the war and before and after, whenever the U.S. takes a backseat to the European Union,
it's bad.
It's bad.
The consequences are dire.
Right. The leadership, is not there. So the worst part now is that because ISIS is predominant in everybody's minds, because of the problems of the Middle East, and Northern Africa are. What does that mean? Most of the members don't have any information. They're not paying any attention. And what they don't realize is that...
Because it's like whack-a-mole. It's whatever crisis comes up, we look at that, whack it, Right.
think it's good, and then another crisis comes up.
Exactly.
And this issue is not getting the attention it deserves.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it.
And the problem is, it's not a matter of if, unfortunately, it's simply a matter of when, you know, there's gonna be violent conflict again.
Yes.
So,
So read
the,
it. Do you have
the,
enough light?
oh, sure, no, I'm fine, no, I'm just, so what I'm thinking about now is that since, Republicans are controlling the House, this is the opportunity.
And the Senate,
This is, yeah, this is
Yes.
their controlling Congress.
and we're
This
not a
is-
parliamentary system.
No,
This is the opportunity,
yeah.
to move in and say, no, we're not going to let the situation deteriorate any further. So, first, I want to just make some comments about Kosovo and Bosnia. Everyone here I know has heard about Kosovo, and I don't know how much, by the way, the State
Tell me.
Department is feeding, you know, the Congress, and to some
They're the
extent.
drivers because
know.
we're not getting the information from the source.
I know,
So we depend on the State Department, unfortunately.
I know that,
ISIS, we can form our own opinions because
Yeah.
we have a lot of information.
exactly.
But on this issue, the State Department is the driver.
I know. And the problem right now, Ileana, is because, you know, what has been in the press, it's even made it into BBC, over in Kosovo for the last year, the opposition in Parliament has been blocking Parliament from assembling, using tear gas, and then calling demonstrations, public demonstrations, which recently there were 35,000 people in the street. The State Department wants to say, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible, look at what's happening, Kosovo is disintegrating, this must be stopped at all costs. The problem is, they're absolutely missing the point and the root of it, which is that, tragically, the United States and the European Union moved in and pushed the corrupt coalition back into power that's currently in power. The people did not want the current leaders.
But the State Department
And
wanted
we
a
were
puppet.
there,
They
we
wanted
were
a
there.
puppet.
Somebody they
This
can
is the
control.
problem, exactly. They're doing that
So-
in
That is the
Macedonia
pattern
and
that we'll
Kosovo.
see worldwide.
Right. So, while we're unhappy with the tactics of the opposition, the truth of the matter is that, you know, this isn't the issue. The issue is a completely disintegrating situation. And it's going to continue to disintegrate because no one ever dealt with the problems after the war that relate to Serbia. There's always, and this is another problem. When you talk to the State Department and you talk to certain members of Congress, they're worried, oh, people are talking about Bosnians or they're talking about Albanians, oh, they must only be concerned with these particular ethnic groups. Once again, missing the point that
Sorry about
the
Europe.
EU and the US have driven the whole policy, and it's been, it looks at, you know, a pro-Belgrade position as the right position, but it's utterly the wrong position because it's creating enormous instability in the region. So you
And
know,
poverty, no economic development. Therefore, when people are poor, they are then subject to Saudi Arabians coming in. Oh, give your daughters the headdresses, we'll give you $600 a month. Or on the other side, you've got now ISIS coming in, and Albanians were never fundamentalist or right wing, but now they're so poor, ISIS is saying, you know what, our entry into Europe, because we said, just the way Mehmet II said in 1453, after he took Constantinople,
Wow.
now we're going to make Rome, St. Peter's, a stable for our horses. That's exactly what ISIS said in the summer. We're going to make Rome, St. Peter's and Rome, a stable for our horses. And that
afford
great
that.
country, Turkey, which is supposed to be our
ally.
now you've got a right-wing nut, Erdogan,
Okay.
who is now saying,
Excuse
I got to
me.
bring the Ottoman Empire back to the Balkans.
Sorry,
Right.
sorry, but I need to make a
Come
few
on,
other
this is
comments.
not about just Albanians
We know
and
that,
Bosnians
right.
and
But-
Macedonians. This is about letting
Okay.
the worst elements from Saudi Arabia and ISIS. Saudi Arabia is still building
Joe, you're
mosques
so
Okay.
and schools.
But Joe,
Absolutely.
just to let me continue, we all know, and you know especially, the EU is essentially a weak institution. Why? Just because of its structure.
It's about
There are
to
28.
disintegrate. Yeah.
There are 28 members. They have to have an agreement. It's always working down to the lowest common denominator, and they have consistently, you know, supported, you know, Belgrade throughout. So as a result, we don't have any real sovereignty in Kosovo, and we have two really horrible developments over the past several years. First, the creation of the northern Kosovo which is being increasingly put under Serbia, and really, for all intents and purposes, it is there now. And
And don't forget,
prior to
Belgrade
that,
has
I'm
not
not
yet
done.
agreed to
Sorry,
Kosovo's
next time I'm going
independence.
to.
They're trying to chip away at it.
The other factor, and it's the parallel factor, is in Bosnia, because they created after, you know, the Dayton Accords. Okay, the Dayton Accords were great only for one reason, we all know. It stopped the war. 200,000 people
But
were
it began
killed.
another one.
4 million,
In
you know,
Kosovo.
were displaced, and the problem is Republika Srpska was established, you know, with the majority of Bosnian Serbs, and then
Please eat,
everyone
please eat,
else
please
was
eat.
put under, you know,
Shirley,
the
you're
Croatian.
so right.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, most important, sorry, most important was the fact that, and you were referring to it before, I mean, I know Harrison and Xander understand this deeply, and you were right to point out that just like the Albanian world, it's Muslim, Orthodox Christian, Catholic, you know, and Jews living in harmony, you know, for centuries. So Bosnia was actually representing the ideal. It was the multi-ethnic, multi-religious ideal. And to a great extent, the Albanian world was as well. What happened with Dayton Accords basically actually supported everything that Milosevic had done.
Ethnic cleansing.
Ethnic cleansing, and divided up everyone according to ethnic identity and religious identity. Top all of that off, it's completely
And
disintegrating
this was Holbrooke's terrible
politically
solution
and
to
economically.
get Milosevic to agree. Well, Milosevic couldn't agree because he lies about everything.
Yes.
So he went from there and he started
You
on.
can't use that as the basis.
No, you can't.
Okay, but what we can do is that we can really, it's time for Congress to do this, I think. If Congress is willing to come forward and say, we're not going to accept the EU running, you know, policy in resolving the Albanian conflict and resolving the conflict in Bosnia.
Which is what our State Department
It's time to return to the Dayton Accords and say, no, we've got to end the Dayton Accords as we know them. They've got to be completely, you know, crafted, and that can be done. I mean, there's absolutely no question about it. One of the problems is that, you know, it's the same situation in Kosovo and in Bosnia. They're keeping, could you please get off the phone, thank you? They're keeping these corrupt, you know, people in power who are going along with the status quo set up by you know, the EU and unfortunately our State Department. And then what is very important to some of the people in this room, and what is really being ignored, is the crisis in Macedonia. You know, Macedonia, you know it because you've been around us and we've been talking about it, and you ran that hearing. Macedonia is the only truly, totally multi-ethnic state in the Balkans. And we all know that our government and the EU continue to prop up the government of Gruevski, and his Albanian counterpart is also corrupt.
We want stability. Even if the guys
Right.
we're propping
Exactly.
up
So
are
corrupt, it's
horrible,
unbelievable.
are corrupt,
Right. We
do a
keep them-
disservice to the people.
Right.
We say, okay, they're not at war, let's keep these
Exactly.
guys there. It's terrible.
Exactly.
What a terrible, hurtful policy for the people
Yes.
Exactly.
of those
Now,
areas.
And for Europe, because they're now
and-
allowing ISIS to get a
Yes.
foothold.
Yes.
Well, I was about to get to that, but before I do, I want to say, you know, for those of you who are aware of what's happening in Macedonia, you know, the tragedy is that just, let's see, I'm trying to think how many months out we are in this process, but let's say roughly since, you know, the summer, because it was so bad. The EU finally had to step in, and what they did was they said to Gruevski, okay, Gruevski, you have to step down from your position temporarily in January, and we're going to have a technical government come in, and then we'll have new elections in April. But leading up to that, there were all these things the Macedonian government was supposed to do in the leading coalition. Gruevski on the one hand, Ali Ahmedi on the Albanian side.
Which they didn't do.
Albanians have really been out of the picture in the whole thing. But what's happened is they haven't reached the agreements that
They haven't gone to step
They
one.
haven't done
Just
step
like the
one.
Oakwood Agreement,
And-
still outstanding after 13 years.
And what's worse is, these elections are going forward in April, even though there are something like 70 international experts, try that, and organizations that have said, do not allow these elections to go forward. So right now, I don't know, we have a limited period of time, right? But February is the time we all know when hearings start, right? We're really not talking,
Yeah.
forget January, we're almost into February. February, March is the period, okay? when we could have a major hearing on Macedonia, Bosnia, and Kosovo, and in it, our government, our Congress, again, we the people, could call for those elections to be stopped. And if they were stopped, ultimately, what is it going to mean? It's going to help everyone involved.
Yes.
Let's do it right this time.
It's a win-win.
Win.
Instead of a
Otherwise-
lose-lose, which
right.
is what we have.
Exactly. And the way it is now, they're going to push Gruevski back into power. In fact, they've already had a private discussion with him in which he's agreed to say that we'll change the name of Macedonia to the Republic of Upper Macedonia.
Northern Macedonia.
Well, something like that.
To make the
It's
Greeks
upper.
happy.
To
Yes.
make Greece happy, thinking that is
nobody
the
else.
problem in Macedonia. That's not the
It's
problem
not
in
the
Macedonia
problem,
as we
yes.
know. And it's not only, an issue of interethnic problems of ethnic, Albanians and ethnic Macedonians, but it is really, ultimately, the picture of corrupt people on both sides working against all of the people, all of the common good, literally pocketing the money, just millions and millions of dollars, into their personal, businesses, families, et cetera.
And parties.
Right.
While everybody goes
Exactly.
hungry,
So-
while there's all this conflict, and then
So what has happened, I
They're
conclude,
lining
sir,
up.
Go ahead,
you
go
have your
ahead, go
chance.
ahead, go ahead.
May I
'Cause I have to conclude with a comment about
No,
Bosnia.
I'm gonna
No, it's good.
conclude
It's no
with a comment that is really important. And I don't think, you'll have to tell me whether it's true in Bosnia, I don't think it is, but in the Albanian world now, in Macedonia and Kosovo specifically, because we have propped up all this corruption, because we haven't resolved the conflict, two things are happening.
we have been part of the problem.
Right, but two things are happening, Ileana, that have never happened in the
Tell me,
Albanian
Shirley.
world before. For the first time, you have Albanians really angry, really disliking America.
At the United
being
States.
critical
And
of
they
America.
have been natural allies all of
exactly.
the time.
Exactly.
They've loved the United
They
States.
love the United States, but for the first time.
And most still do,
For
but
the,
now
yes,
we have
but
to.
for the
Now,
first time,
yeah.
hatement's creeping in, and
Who
the
can blame
second,
them?
exactly,
We're-
and the
we're
second
interfering
thing,
in the wrong way.
right, and the second thing that's feeding right into this process, given the rise of ISIS, and given ISIS's movement through Turkey, right? For the first time, you have Albanians who are always Albanians first, people of faith second. They have been able to, usually because of poverty, bring people into the ISIS network, and now they've begun more in Macedonia than any other place for the last several years, moving a form of Islamic fundamentalism into the Balkans. Now, why is this so tragic? It's tragic on the face of it.
And
but
it's never
more
been the history of
Right,
it.
No.
but it's even more tragic because, and this is what I've been trying to talk to Ed Royce about, and I know he
Taking 10
agrees.
steps back.
Not only 10 steps back, these are the very people, Albanians, and I'm positive Bosnians as well. These are Bosnian Muslims specifically, as well as anyone, who's not
It's a
part of
terrible
Srpska is what I mean. These are the very people that can stop ISIS from moving in.
Right. These are the
Absolutely
very ones that
stop
we need.
ISIS from moving
yet-
into Western Europe.
Yeah, they're getting into their
So,
fold.
exactly.
Let me make two
So
quick
this
points.
is the point now where
Then she has
it's
to speak.
really, really critical that, we have this hearing. And Joe, by the way, has been very, very optimistic because we've been able to do, and I've actually designed most of them. The last 3 years, we've had a hearing every year. But last year was the first hearing that showed any sign of weakness because of State
Yeah.
Department incursion. And frankly, it was run by Dana. Dana was furious. Dana was furious because
The State
he could
Department
not
was
believe how
unprepared.
incompetent
Yes.
the State Department was at his own hearing.
Yes.
Right? And he said, he was the one challenging. He said, excuse me, there has been absolutely no progress that I
Right.
have seen in Bosnia, Macedonia, and
Right.
Kosovo, which was the focus. It was the Western Balkans, at that time. So now, we've been saying, oh, well, it should be something that we can definitely make happen, right? But you know how it works, and you know what's going on right now, and we have a presidential, campaign that's dominating everything. So it's going to take leadership.
Just a little window of opportunity.
Right, so it's going to take leadership, and I trust yours to a great degree to see if, okay, at least if you're not going to do it in the full committee, although I think they should in terms of the rise of ISIS, but at least get it into the subcommittee for starters, and then we'll go from there.
Okay,
Okay,
two
with
quick
that,
points. Now,
Did
let me
I
make
do a
two-
good
Yay,
job? in
Shirley!
every effort to stop me from talking?
Two quick points. We have two brothers that flew all the way from California here, and I gotta make a point about Bosnia.
That was very
All right,
good.
Bosnia. You know that when Holbrook settled for Dayton in 1995, he almost had a gun to his head.
The
because-
lowest common
be-
denominator.
lowest
Right,
common-
exactly.
Because Milosevic kept doing such outrageous
was to
things.
end the
He thought
bloodshed,
that
but
this would
not-
be the thing
yeah.
to stop him. It didn't stop him.
Didn't.
But what it did is it validated ethnic cleansing by creating
Sure.
a phony republic called
Yeah.
Srpska just to please Belgrade. So now you've got the Croat Muslim Republic and you've got the Serbian Republic. They're supposed to be a unified state
Yeah.
called Bosnia Herzegovina. It's not there.
And everybody
It's not
wants to
there.
say, okay, that was done,
It's
no
not done.
problem.
It's not done. And it's going from bad to worse every day. I'm not going to get into it. Just keep it in your mind. When we have this hearing, we'll present the evidence for that. That
It's
Dayton
so
was a
needed.
failure, was not a success.
And
Now,
if people, by the way, don't wait, 2018, I know you know, 2018, the head of the Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik, is calling for a referendum to say we're going to secede.
because
Okay.
Serbia
So,
got its foothold.
If we don't do anything,
All right.
Yes.
There it
Here's
goes.
what Serbia did. They're very clever, and Milosevic is not there anymore.
Bless you.
The reason why we beat them is that Milosevic was so outrageous that he put too much on the table, and we were able to go after him, get him in The Hague,
Right.
and where we convicted him, and he died in his cell by not taking his heart medicine. But
right.
we got to be careful today because we got the same situation going on because Belgrade knows what Milosevic tried to accomplish. Look at what I said on every U.S. television show. That's not the issue. It's Greater Serbia. Milosevic is looking to expand his influence
They
all
wanted
over
you
the
to
Balkans.
look at the shiny keys, look
Right.
over here, this is what's
I
important.
was not distracted.
That's not true.
But now what's happened is because Srpska is so weak, now Serbia is saying we got to solve the problem by making it part of Belgrade. And don't forget how they created Srpska. It was at the cleansing of many Croatians
Srpska
that
are
were
not so
killed
weak. They're
to
getting
get
money
that
from
state
Belgrade.
formed.
But
Now,
anyway,
Shirley, now, that's one issue that you have to understand, that Belgrade is still at work. They're going to do the same thing now with Northern Kosovo. They're trying to tell the world, oh, come on, just give us that little piece of Northern Kosovo that has those mainly Serbian-speaking people in the northern part. God bless you. And we will, no. Once you do that, they got the foothold.
That's right.
They've never,
They're
don't
gonna
forget,
chip
they have
away.
not
That's-
they have not agreed to the independence of Kosovo.
That's right.
5 European nations out of 27 have not
28.
agreed to it. They are keeping Kosovo out of UNESCO. They're keeping it out of any place. And I just heard from Shirley today that they agreed now, all right, let Kosovo be part of the Council of Europe, but they can't have a vote. Who the hell is Serbia to
Yes.
say that after we
Yeah.
fought
no,
so hard for
Serbia
independence?
didn't
Yeah.
make that.
You understand what's going on?
Serbia didn't make
All
that
right,
decision.
now-
Europe did.
So now, let me go back to the bigger problem. Bigger problem is in Macedonia because you have now Erdogan. 2 years ago, when Berisha was in charge of Albania, just to set the stage, he comes into his office. What does he see on the wall? The Pope of the Albanian people, especially the ones that are not Catholic, is a guy called George Castriati, the guy that saved Europe from Islam. 25 years wore down the biggest army in the world, the Ottoman Empire, and when he died, they overran Albania, okay? So Erdogan comes in and tells the president of Albania, take that traitor down from the wall. Now, that shocked the hell out of me, and he takes it down. Now,
Past
why is that important to know? Why is that important to know? They have an election now in Bosnia, in Macedonia. There is now an Islamic party emerging, controlled by Albanians. They don't know where the money's coming from, and a month ago,
They're not going to win. So it's no
a month
problem.
ago, they're finding out that there's a guy in Albania, they caught him because there were kind of talks about how we have to now control what's going on in Macedonia. They raided the apartment, found $5 million in euros.
Not
Goodness
been, not been
In cash,
substantiated
in
at
cash,
all.
ready to go
Wow.
to Macedonia.
Wow.
This has to be coming from Turkey. So we now have a new war that's going on.
Yes.
Like 500 years ago, the Albanians kept the Ottoman Turks at bay. Now the Ottomans want to control Albania because they think that there's a history there they can reclaim. And what ISIS said, let me tell you one last thing. Think about this. 1452, the biggest battle against the Turkish army was won by this Albanian general. He had 10,000 well-trained horsemen against 200,000 and won. He did that
Wow.
for 25 years.
Wow.
Okay? But when the son of Murad II, the Sultan that lost that battle, 1452, died in his, he couldn't believe he lost 100,000 soldiers in one thing. Mehmet II had the nerve not to go against the Albanian leader. He went to Constantinople because he realized he had these big cannons that on flat ground could take down the walls. Couldn't do it in Albania, and he takes Constantinople,
Yes.
changed the world. What does he say after that? Mehmet II stands there, 1453. Now I will make Rome, St. Peter's, a stable for our horses. Exactly what ISIS said this summer,
Yes.
500 years later.
With that,
So,
Wow.
with that,
we would look forward
God
to
bless you. Thank you for
hearing
coming.
you.
Thank you.
speak.
Are these guys amazing?
Not
Joe and
enough.
Shirley, thank you so much. Let me thank the wonderful folks who have provided this great venue. Is this a great American success story? Come here, these three young men.
Absolutely.
We're missing one. Okay.
There.
Is this not a
Yes.
photo of what America is all about? I mean, you heard their biographies, of course you know them, but I had not known them. But to think that they came from where they came, they got to Chicago because of circumstances related to their dad's health. They meet this wonderful little Jewish boy, and they form this great corporation, resulting in a Mexican restaurant in New York City and one in Los Angeles.
he's
called-
bigger than you think.
I'm very blessed.
called the what?
The Crossing.
The Crossing.
And three more here.
Do you believe? Isn't this America?
Yes, it is.
I mean, these guys.
Beautiful.
You could make a whole show about you guys
Right.
and what you represent. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
But let me tell you about these two, this couple, these two individuals. They are amazing. You know them because you see them all day long, and you don't know what they represent to us in Congress. Joe and Shirley, they're your friends. You see them, you meet with them, you have lunch and dinner with them, and maybe you take them for granted. Maybe you think, they're just the folks from the neighborhood. Joe and Shirley are so respected in the halls of Congress. I cannot exaggerate how respected they are. When they come to a member of Congress and they say, I'm going to talk to you about this issue. I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in Europe, what's going on with Albania, what's going on with Macedonia, what's going on with Kosovo. People take note. They will always get an appointment to see any member of Congress. Heck, they don't need an appointment. They walk in. So for those of you who just know them because they're your friends, don't take them for granted. But Joe and Shirley command a lot of respect, not only because Joe served so honorably in the United States Congress for so many years, but because he's formed this amazing partnership also with his mate, Shirley, who is a dynamo. I don't need to tell you that, right?
Thank you.
You know, and look, I've got this speech, forget about it, because I cannot even compare to the knowledge, the little knowledge that's here, just a little part of it here, and a little part of this is what my talks are
Thanks
all
to them.
about.
They educated
But-
me about this.
And
I
so
would
I
not
look
know.
forward to hearing from you about what we can do. I think that their idea of having a congressional hearing, because it's been a long time,
For America, not just for the Balkans.
it is not for the Balkans. It is for always. Our priority is always the national security of this great country that has given us
Right.
an opportunity. Now, why do I identify so much with their cause? I was born in Cuba, as you heard, came over to the United States when I was 8 years old. My parents, my mom was first generation Cuban. My dad was many generations Cuban. We lost our country. We know what it is to face an authoritarian dictatorship. And we know what it's like to feel outnumbered in the world. And everybody now wants to say, oh, Cuba's a great, sexy country. Look at these great Chevys, and it's wonderful. And we want to talk about, what about human rights? What about the lack of elections? What about the lack of political parties? And it's really hard. Just like you guys are finding it very hard to get the ear of Congress, to get Congress to take note, and that we battle our own State Department. How odd and how sad it is that we battle against our own interests, because remember that the State Department is about having everybody be safe. We're gonna battle ISIS, but if you guys just stay here in your corner, don't worry about it, we'll take care of you later. Well, we're not people who are gonna put baby in the corner, as that movie said. And we're just gonna play that second-hand role. Just like you don't, the Cuban American community that I represent refuses to as well. So I have a natural kinship and a natural affinity to the plight that all of you are going through, because it's so similar to the plight of the Cuban American community. So I pledge to you that I'm going to work with Dana Rohrabacher, I'm going to work with Chairman Ed Royce, who is a wonderful chairman, to do everything we can to take this issue to the hearing level so we can have people like you testify, so we can know, not just from the State Department, please, they can have a role, but it's not the role that we want. We don't want to hear from the vested interests of our government. We want to hear from people who are directly impacted by the tragedy that is occurring in your native homelands. Because if we don't make this right, if we think, oh, the Dayton Accords, everything is great, no problem, we solved it, we will be doing a disservice to the country that has given us a second opportunity and a new breath of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I'm going to continue with Joe, I'm going to continue with Shirley, and they are your mouthpieces for your desires to have us in Congress do the right thing. So please keep giving your information to Joe, keep giving your information to Shirley, and I commit to you that we will do everything in our power to make sure that the powers that be understand, and that the State Department understands, that we are not going to be beholden to their point of view, because we have heard from the people directly impacted by this great tragedy that is unfolding before us. And with that, Joe and Shirley, if I might, I would like to turn it over to our wonderful participants, because I would like to hear from them what is happening. If that is okay.
Thank you so much. I am very proud to be here tonight.
I'm honored to be in your presence.
First of all, sorry for my poor English. So
No,
I'll
my
try
English is not my native language, so
okay.
So it's pretty poor also.
Okay. I am proud because you worked for a long time in the Congress, and I know about you, and you helped Albanian people, and it's a time to say thank you very much for everything you have done for Albanian people in the Congress.
Shirley, they don't let me rest.
Second, Joe and Shirley, they are my friend, but at the same time, in the United States, they are leader of Albanian community.
Yes,
Before
sir.
3 days, public television of Albanian gave an emission for 45 minutes for Liga, especially for Joe and Shirley. Now, many intellectuals from Albania, they called me, please say hi, Joy and Shirley. They don't know this one, but they listened what they did for Albanian people here.
Oh my goodness!
Documentary to
Oh,
show what
wait.
we did over 25 years.
Oh my goodness!
And the second one, here tonight I had an occasion to see some Bosnian people. I am very proud for them, for what they did, for the business and for everything. And when I was in charge, Deputy Chief General Staff Albanian Army, I had many contacts of military advisor of Alija Izetbegovic, and we helped too much. We sent a lot of armament in the Bosnia, and everything was free. The commander-in-chief, president of Albania, was President Berisha, and under the honor of the Berisha, we did as we can to do for Bosnian people. But we know what the Milosevic did in Bosnia. Anyway, thank you for inviting us.
Difficult times.
Now I would like to speak some words
Please do.
For my Albanian people.
Please do.
I am concerned about Obama administration because they was not able to push the Russian away from the Balkan.
No.
They was not able.
Remember,
But
President
what is-
Obama said
I-
to Putin,
Yeah.
wait till the election and I'll have some more flexibility.
Now, this administration, they give the Balkan, they give to European Union. But European Union, it's 100 years, it's try to organize, but they are not able to do. Just immigrants came in the European country, and in the European country was a world cake, or everything is shook.
Yeah.
Shake.
Right. Shake.
Because they are not able to do managing of the situation. But I am 100% sure many agents of the Russian, many agents of the Saudi Arabia, many agents of Iran, and many people of ISIS,
Yes.
they are inside the immigrants.
Yes.
This is a bad situation.
Yes, I
they are
agree.
doing a bad situation.
They're penetrating all that.
Yes.
Taking
Yes. Yeah, taking advantage of the generosity
Exactly.
of the American openness. There is no doubt. They would be foolish not to.
I would like
I mean, it's
to
unbelievable.
I would like to emphasize something. The Russian is in the top of every segment of the mafia, which is working in the Balkan in Europe. All the immigrants, they have direction from a mafia Russian, but behind the mafia there are Serbian mafios and the Turkish mafios. Turkey is doing a bad role in the Balkan. It's thinking
Is doing what now?
a bad.
Red roll.
Oh, bad roll. Yes, Erdogan is.
Yeah,
Wait. let me go.
many poor people in Albania they invite to go to Turkey and to go to ISIS, and they said you will find over there a job, you will have very good
Oh, they
life
make a
over
lot
there.
of promises.
And the Turkey is interested to have how to say influence in the north of Iraq and Syria.
Yes.
To have how to say caliphate.
A caliphate. That's what they're all
Caliphate.
about.
Caliphate.
Establish a caliphate all over the area.
Caliphate. It's how to say the power of religion.
Of course.
But for caliphate, they are interested Saudi Arabia, they are interested
Yes.
Iran, they are
Yes.
interested Turkey, they
We
are
so
many
agree.
interests they are placed
We
together.
so agree.
So, I saw United States, they was not able to push away Russia, to push away and Saudi
No,
Arabia,
no.
and Tehran, activity of Tehran. So all of them, they are around my country. Now,
Yes.
the situation in Kosovo, it's bad. The reason, Kosovo is under United States and under UN for a long time.
Yes.
It's the last one to go in Europe and to be
Yes.
free to go in Europe. This is shame. First, it was shame for United States.
Shame on us.
Yeah. The
Yes.
second is for the
No
European
visas to travel to Europe. Would you believe
Unbelievable.
it?
Unbelievable.
The second
We
one.
don't know an ally from an adversary.
The
It's
second one.
unbelievable.
Thank you.
The second one, United States, they know all the lines of corruption in Kosovo, Albania, and Macedonia. But I never saw any article in the New York Times or any other to say, listen, these are the mafia. They are,
Wow.
and
Criminals.
the criminals.
That's right.
They are. But I
We'll
didn't.
never see that.
We didn't see. Albanian people is a brother of the United States, not
We
in the
have
Balkans.
so many values. We share so much. Why are we pushing these people away?
Yeah.
It hurts us to do this.
So
It's incompetence.
it's
ignorance.
Yes. And it's dangerous, Joe. It's dangerous, Shirley. We are hurting our own interests
We do
when
have
we do
people
that.
who are
and
corrupt.
two more things as a military man.
Yes.
United States was not able to take action against the Russian when they occupied Crimea. This is
Crimea.
We're not able,
Crimea.
or we did not want
did
to.
not want to.
We looked the other way. It was not convenient for us.
You're right.
okay.
NATO wouldn't support us.
Right.
Right,
Okay.
But we could have been leaders
absolutely.
in NATO and say, this is the
Yeah.
way.
And-
They look for
And
leadership.
NATO wouldn't have no choice
we're
but to
leading
follow.
from behind.
Now,
So behind.
I am concerned because Putin is continue very active in the
Yes.
in the Syria.
And he's not gonna let go of
very,
that.
Very active. It's in Ukraine and Crimea.
Ukraine and Crimea.
Now they want
Yes.
to send a lot of armament in Serbia. They are just in.
Absolutely.
They are about 2 milliard. 2 milliard. It's a billion.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Two,
Absolutely.
2.5
He's not gonna give
billion
up on that
armament
area.
in Serbia, and this is
Yes.
against my people. I am very concerned about that. Why
And
the
you
United
should be.
States? Why the United States? They are not taking care for my people.
No,
So-
you're preaching to the choir.
And General Bishara,
We
this is what we were
understand,
saying,
General,
exactly.
we understand what's at stake. But remember, one thing is the Obama administration, one thing is the State Department.
Exactly.
And another thing altogether is the Congress. We understand you, we hear you, and even if we didn't want to hear you, Joe and Shirley would make sure that we heard you.
My name is Abraham Kolani.
Abraham, it's a
and
pleasure.
I'm coming
That's a
from,
wonderful name.
Thank you. I am coming
Please
from
be quiet.
the Republic of Macedonia. I'm here for 38 years.
38 years.
38, and I'm proud to be here. I am so sorry.
Do you
that
still have family?
I do have a family there, and I go back and forth because I own a business there too as well. I am so sorry and ashamed to myself, like a congresswoman like you, and me as an activist for all these years, do I not know you? Believe me, it's a
Shame
shame
on
of
me, not
no,
shame on
of
you.
me.
No,
But I wanted to
But
thank.
that's why
You
Joe
left
and
the
Shirley
Civic
are
League for a
here.
while.
I wanted to
That's
thank.
why Joe and Shirley
Yeah, no,
exist,
he
so that
left.
I can get to know
I
you.
wanted to
Came
thank
back.
With another
Joe.
group and he woke up.
I
For years.
There's no religion now.
I was always with you, but I wanted to
you
thank
left.
you, Joe, and you,
you.
Shirley,
Thank you.
for making this meeting tonight with such a nice, wonderful
Thank you.
lady. I also want to thank this young
Yay!
guys. Yes.
This is an American success
yes,
story.
and then
Along
and
with
to-
the little Jewish boy from
to his
Chicago.
partner. Now, what I like to bring up this.
Yes, sir.
In 2001, we have an Ohrid agreement which was signed by Macedonian, by Albanian, by European Union, and by Americans.
15 years ago.
Yes. And since then, up to now,
Not been
since then
implemented.
now,
Not been implemented.
it's a
It's
more
a
than
beautiful historical document for academics to study.
More than
It's
300
never been put into effect.
more than 300 Albanian people left the country for the pressure of Nikola Gruevski, working together, being with that party, which is Albanian, and I feel bad to I tell them an Albanian, but to me is not Albanian. To me is worse than a Slav. Okay, because
The
working
coalition party
Yes.
with the guy he bought.
working
Albanian
together
bought.
in the favor of them and not working in the favor who we vote for them and who we support them. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous. Now, what's going on? Now it's a new election. It's going to be in April 27th. A mayor of Struga, which is a very nice
Sure.
city, of Struga, beautiful city of Struga. His name is Ziadin Salam. They killed his driver. They killed his nephew of the secretary. Now they send him a letter, like, now we want you head. Why? Because he is going.
Leader of the opposition.
Yes, the leaders of the opposition.
His
Why?
life is at
Is
stake.
in danger.
Yeah, is in danger.
So why? Because he's gained so much support from all people.
And
not
they
just-
can't afford it.
Yeah,
The
all
opposite. Yeah,
people,
they can't afford
you
to
know?
have this guy. in.
And this one, this is, I think, is a felony, and this is us to
Yes.
stop and us to send a message to those parties.
Let's take
to
action.
Stop this.
Thank you.
Because this is a criminal.
Thank you,
I
Abraham.
see. So now, what I wanted to bring a point, this blessing country, when the first president who went to Albania, that was a George W. Bush.
Wow.
And
Good man.
he was well supported from Albanian people, 98%. In fact, over here,
98%.
98% was
Wow.
support.
The only
When he
places
came to this
except in
country,
Europe.
in fact, some newsletters, newspapers, they was telling them, why don't you go become a president in Albania? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, my closing talk was to you. I think we have to take action because it's a shame for this country now to let these criminals,
Yes.
to let this corruption, which they made not millions, billions.
Billions.
Okay, they let them, and they're gonna go free.
It's a shame.
They're gonna go free.
Taking our money.
This is not democracy.
It's not
Ibrahim,
right.
that's
It's
exactly
not
why I said we need
We're
to
gonna
stop,
work on this,
stop the
Ibrahim.
elections from happening,
The leaders,
postpone it in April. Stop it from
Macedonian
happening.
leaders, and together with their coalition, when they come here, they says we are multi-ethnic country here.
Yes.
But when they go there, to hell with America.
right,
To hell
right.
with America.
They know how to say double speak.
We
They were
are.
dancing in the
Nathan
streets on
Shirley
9/11.
said
We
Yes.
are the law, and it doesn't exist the law. We
I
are
hear
above
you.
the law,
And
nobody is above
and
the
Joe
law.
and Shirley will make sure that I hear you.
Let me make one last point.
Yes, Joe.
Ileana doesn't know
Shirley.
this. Shirley and I went in 1995 to reopen the University at Titova, which is the only Albanian university. It had 800,000 Albanians
85?
in Macedonia. 1995.
95.
So they burned it down, the Slavs did, in 94. We went back to open it. Thank God Shirley has got a lot of eyes on both sides of her head. She realized
All over.
She realized that there was somebody in the group that was
He was an
giving
informant.
information.
He was an informant.
So what happens was, Joe, we got to get out of here.
We're
Something's
gonna
happen.
lie about when
So
we're
I,
leaving.
5 o'clock in the morning,
So you were
we
okay.
lied that we were going to leave in 2 days, but we left the next morning 5 a.m. As we're going to the airport,
Oh, my
we
goodness.
see all
They
the
went
police
nuts
coming
at the
this way.
airport.
We
were coming to get
we
you.
fooled
No, they
the
were
secret
planning to
police. You
actually
gotta listen to this.
handcuff
We
us
fooled the secret
and
police.
take us out in the
They were
crowd.
looking to just throw me out to say persona non
Oh,
grata.
my
This guy
gosh.
DioGuardi. But guess what happens? We got on the plane, but they wouldn't let us on the plane. They couldn't believe I was at the airport. They thought I was still back at that hotel.
they wanted to
So
get
now
you.
I'm back in New York. The next day, I get a call from the head of the FBI in
And
New
they
York.
said, how'd you get
And,
out?
and they said, Joe, you know, I know you're a former congressman, but you're a U.S. citizen. We have to tell you, because we have to tell every U.S. citizen whose life has been threatened.
Yeah,
And we just
wow.
got a wiretap with the chief of police of the Macedonian
Whoa.
government, the Slav, that said the next time DioGuardi comes here, because we embarrassed him by getting out before he had his stage.
Yes.
Next time he comes here, we will throw his body on the Albanian side of the border. It's on, FBI has it on tape. So this is what we're dealing with.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you. So sorry that I've got to get